So you can see that I created a project called functions, and so you should as well. And in the project functions, I created a file called def functions, which we have here. You'll notice in my def function file, I have my program printing out the story of the three little piggies. I don't have the entire story, but I have the introduction, which is this first part where the mommy tells them to go and leave the house and find a place to build their own house. But of course, beware of the big bad wolf who will gobble them up. I have the second part of the story where the first piggy finds the pile of straw and decides to build his house with straw. I have the third part of the story where the second piggy finds the pile of sticks and decides to build his house with sticks. And the last part of the story where the oldest brother finds the pile of bricks and decides to build his house with bricks. If I go ahead and run the file, you can see it all prints out down at the bottom, and I put a new line in between each part of the story. Okay. So what I want to do now is I want to use a function to help organize my code and make it more easy to read. Okay. And so the way that we're going to do that is we're going to make 4 different functions. One for the intro, one for the first piggy, one for the second piggy, and one for the third piggy. So let's go ahead and do that now. At the top of our program, we could say def, maybe I could say intro with 2 parentheses and a colon. And in Python, the way that we say that a block of code is part of a function definition is we indent it. So I want this block of code here to be in the intro function, so I'm going to indent it like that. Okay. So now I have my function definition for intro, and this is the block of code that's going to run when I call it. Now let's make our next function definition. Def, maybe I could say first piggy, 2 parentheses. And for this function definition, I'm going to go ahead and highlight this block of code and indent it. So you could see here that I have a gray line, and what the comment says is expects 2 blank lines and found 1. So the gray line doesn't mean there's an error, but it means that you haven't formatted your program correctly. So although these gray lines won't cause your program to error out, we should follow along with what they're telling us to do. So let's put 2 blank lines in between function definitions, and you can see the gray line goes away. Okay, so 2 blank lines in between function definitions. So I'm going to go ahead and put 2 blank lines here, and here I'm going to say def second piggy, 2 parentheses, colon, and this is the block of code that is going to be in that function definition. So I'll go ahead and make another function definition. I'll say third piggy, 2 parentheses, colon, and I'm going to indent this block here. Okay, so now I have my 4 function definitions: intro, first piggy, second piggy, and third piggy. Okay, so if I go ahead and run it now, you'll notice at the bottom of our console that nothing prints out. Okay, and so why does nothing print out? Well, it's because the program that runs the program, which we call the interpreter, it goes line by line. Like starts with line 1, then goes to line 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to the end of our program at line 30 before it ends the program. Okay, but it follows some rules. Okay, and so what does this interpreter do? It ignores function definitions. So when it comes here to line 1, it says, hey, here's a function definition from line 1 to line 8. I'm going to ignore it. So I'm going to go skip down to line 9. Okay, I'll do line 9, nothing's there. Line 10, nothing's there. Hey, here's another function definition, line 11 to line 16. I'm going to skip those lines. So the interpreter, which is the program that runs the program, is going to skip those lines and go to 17. Then it goes to 18 and it goes to 19. Hey, here's another function definition. I'm going to skip this guy and go to line 24, line 25, line 26. Hey, another function definition. I'm going to go to line 30, and then it ends the program because that's the last line of our program. Okay, so you must be thinking to yourself, okay, well, I have these function definitions, but the interpreter ignores them. Well, how do I get them to run? Well, very similar to Scratch, when you define the function, let me bring up my Scratch so I could show you what I am talking about. I believe this is the one. No, this is not the one. Okay, functions example. Let's go into that one. Okay, just like in Scratch, how we defined our introduction here, right? If we didn't do this part and I hit the green flag, nothing happens. I'm hitting the green flag and nothing's happening, right? The definition is ignored by the compiler or the interpreter, which is the program that runs the program, right? It only runs the definition if we, what we call the function definition by doing this, okay? This here is the function call. This here is the function definition. The definition is ignored by the interpreter until it is called. Once I click this one on, now I'm calling it, and when I hit the green flag, it's going to run that function definition, right? So that's the same thing as what's happening in Python. Okay? These function definitions are ignored by the interpreter until we call them. And so how do we call them? Well, why don't we come down here to the bottom, and the way you do it is you just say the name of the function definition you want to run and 2 parentheses. This here is a function call. So now when we run our program, how is it going to work? It's going to go to line 1, ignore all of this. Line 9, 10, 11, ignore all of these. Line 17, 18, 19, ignore all of these. 24, 25, 26, ignore all of those lines. 30, line 31, hey, here's a function call. So what is it going to do? It's going to go and find the function definition for intro. It's going to go and look for it, and it finds it right here on line 1. And it's going to execute line 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. When it finishes executing all of the lines of code that are inside the body of the intro, then it goes back down to where intro was called. So after completing line 8, it jumps back down to 31, the call, and it continues sequential execution of our code. So it goes to 32 and ends our program. So let's run the code, and you can see here that it prints out the introduction before ending our program. But we don't want to print out just the introduction. We want to print out first piggy next, right? So how are we going to do that? Well, right here after intro, we could say first piggy. And how is this going to run? Well, we run our program. It's going to skip all of these lines here because these are all function definitions. Gets to line 31. It jumps up to line 1, executes line 2 to 8. After finishing executing line 8, it goes back to where intro was called, right? Back to where the function definition for intro was called. So it comes back down here to 31, and it goes to the next line. It goes to 32. And now it's going to look for the first piggy function definition because this is the first piggy function call, right? So it's going to go and jump up to line 11. It's going to do 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. And then when it's finished with 16, where's the program going to go? Well, it's going to go back to where first piggy was called. So first piggy was called right here, and it's going to go to line 33 and end our program. So if I run the code now, you can see it prints out the intro and piggy number 1 building his house. So for the challenge exercise on this video, why don't you make it so that it also prints out piggy, second piggy, and third piggy as well, and gets all of our program to print out here at the bottom in the console. Okay. Right, so let's go ahead and do that.